start recording. It's Wednesday or Thursday? What's the day, ladies and gentlemen? It is Thursday the 28th, and the news has been so crazy that I couldn't even figure out what day of the week it is because we got GameStop stock going up to like 400 and then back down to 200 and then locking, and the SEC is involved and Robinhood's involved, and there's class warfare happening between the people in the middle against the people in the top, and hedge fund managers leveraging positions, and all that information is for other podcasts. This is the Tomcast. This is drawing time, and we're trying a little 5 p.m. activity for some of my friends who can't tune in during the workday because they work. So we're going to do something a little bit later and see where this goes. Got a request from my friend Joe to riff a little bit more on the crab robot from earlier on in the year. This was one of the most liked projects we did, and I kept saying I was going to come back to it, and I think tonight's the night where we're going to revisit this a little bit. I had an idea. My friend Eric also liked this aerials picture we did earlier on, and I'm going to try to do something that involves a flying ship along with this crab robot coming out of the Pacific Northwest Ocean drawing. But to warm up, let's just start drawing to get our arms warmed up to start doing stuff. Mike posts, hey, Mike LeGrand, he says, been loving your landscapes recently. Want to see you try some of Isaac's crazy layer style light tricks someday too. Yeah, Isaac is a beast. For those who don't know, Isaac Orloff inspired me to get into landscapes because his work has been excellent. We saw a video on Behance. I think you could still find it if you're curious. Look up Behance, Isaac Orloff, Orloff, and he does some really great demos on painting landscapes in color, and his process is pretty awesome. Had the opportunity to work with Isaac back at Zynga in 2012 to 13. Rest in peace, Zynga East. Shut down before its time, but that's for another conversation. Mike says Crab Mech is awesome. Glad you like it. Glad you like the Crab Mech, Mike. And Mike also likes this time slot. So maybe we'll keep doing it. Maybe we'll keep like the pre-dinner hour, or maybe during dinner hour, because I eat late. I get lunch at like 2, or in today's case, I got breakfast at like 12:30, you know. Well, anyway, I want to warm up a little bit quick. We had a request from L to talk about drawing from above real quick. So for our reference, we're going to get out the old Oldie Von Moldy, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I heard actually Ewan McGregor's brother is a fighter pilot or a helicopter pilot in the RAF, and his call sign is OB2. OB2. I think that's pretty funny. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like that story anyway. So quickly, drawing the character from the front is typically what most people do. In my career, I've drawn a lot of characters from above, and what's the first thing we notice is that character gets shorter. So for games like Civilization and other products, we actually have to make those characters a lot taller. So just going to quickly warm up the arm by drawing the face and the figure in the front, profile, and 3/4 view. So get some circles going, circle shape for the head, and then egg shape for the chin area. And then right across the middle, we make a little cross, and somewhere in there we have the eyeballs, and then the nose goes between the middle third of the face and the forehead. We have the hair up above, and then the mouth somewhere that splits halfway between the nose and the bottom of the face, and you get your chin area down there. So a lot of construction, really quick, building out the nose and the face. There's some more details you can get into in terms of perspective drawing the face, such as the eye shape, the idea of the 5-eyed sphere. So if the eye silhouette is this dark looking scary dude, I don't know, let's put some color in there to make it less scary. This distance from the inside of the eye to the left outside of the eye is usually also between the eyes, and then also to the outside of the head, the outside of the skull. So even though the face is a bit narrower, then the back of the head actually widens out a little bit. And it's important to leave that area. And the ears usually start at the edge of the eye, go up to the eyebrow, and then back down towards the nose. So the bottom of the nose and the bottom of the ears is about lined up generally. So when we're trying to draw a face in the 3/4 point of view, we want to remember some of these relationships and just project them sideways. And of course, every single human being is a little bit different. So if you morph and change these things, it's not a big deal. But it's good to remember that type of stuff. The cranium housing is this five-eyed circle. And if you put it in a cube, it's a five-eyed cube. So you can imagine 5 eyes across, something like that. And then we can use that unit of measure for other parts of the face. If this was profile, we hang the front of the face like an egg off the front half of that. And then the same applies where you have the nose in the middle. You know, you basically have the middle of the face is where the eyes are. And if you divide it into a third, like the middle third section is going to be the nose. And then from the bottom to the chin, you're going to have the mouth somewhere right in the middle. And then the mouth hangs in front. If you want a more masculine face, you protrude the chin out more forward, and the nose is pretty flat at the bottom. If you want a more feminine face, because it's all the rage these days, if you want that high class looking feminine face, you're going to tilt some of these things up a little bit. And then the nose is going to come up with a slant slope, and then the lips to the chin kind of recede more. And this would be considered more feminine. So the nose tilts up a little bit more. And then there's a less pronounced brow line typically. And then the eye is somewhere in here. Chin, etc. So let me paint over that. And then we have this kind of receding line. And that's the kind of profile you get if you want to do something more feminine. And then also the eyebrows are going to be softer. If you want to go more masculine, sharper eyebrows. And then the cheeks, the contour is going to be a little bit different. Mike says, usually you draw while I'm at work. I'm going to stop spamming and return to lurk mode. You can spam all you want, man. I just check the comments as we go. If you want to hear Tom say something out loud that you've written, I'm here to do that. And I don't even require payment. Though I should mention to everybody who's watching later on, Mike is the guy who commissioned the Baltimore piece, which was very, very popular. Let me pull that up just so we give Mike a quick shout out. Let me find that. Going fast, going fast. Here's the Baltimore Harbor for the Mike LeGrand man. Coming to a puzzle store near you eventually someday, right? Someday, we hope. And then the updated version 2.0, it's got Edgar Allan Poe. We love Edgar Allan Poe. You know what I was watching today, Mike? I was watching highlights of the great All-Pro Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis. Remember those days when the Ravens had the best defense of all time? Man, I miss those days, especially after watching the Ravens in the playoff this year. Ooh, that hurt. All right, so how do we draw the head in the 3/4 mode? Again, this is how we're warming up, and then we're going to get back to drawing landscape or environment type stuff. Let's create a new layer. Let's fill over that. Let's do a new drawing on top there. We got some high energy today. Today I went to Chick-fil-A and got myself some chicken for breakfast and a big coffee. And man, that stuff works. I got a good workout in. So we're going to start with the five-eyed cube in a diagonal. So imagine there's the five-eyed sphere with a cube around it. This cube is going to be 5 eyes across. And let's just erase the 3 of the 5 we don't need. And so we have eyeballs here. And then we can imagine bisecting this cube. Actually, we're going to hang the face off the front and then bringing it down just a little bit, because that's actually more correct what we want. And then the third of the nose is going to be this triangular piece that comes off. We're going to see the plane of the top of the nose, like a pyramid, coming between the middle third lines of this boxy shape. And then let's redraw the eyes to fit along the middle line between the bottom of the chin and the top. Let's pick and paint over like an eraser tool. The forehead is receding a little bit, so it's going to slope back and then come around the top of the head and something like that. So we're imagining those same ratios, middle, third for the nose, and then we're tracing our reference points back to where the jawline might meet this cranium brain part. Imagine contouring from the bottom of the nose around to the right, and then creating a shape for the ear that loops around and then comes back and lines up with, I guess, like longitude, you think about longitude and latitude lines on a globe. What is it? The sphere is like this. The Earth is something like this. This is the Earth. And then I believe longitude is this way and latitude is this way. So you got the equator and then the tropics, right? Something like that. I think latitude goes up and longitude goes around. Longitude, because that's the long way around. The Earth is a little squished, so that's how we go. So when we're contouring the head from the above three-quarter, the bottom, below three-quarter, I'm thinking about this grid of longitudinal and latitudinal lines, longitudinal lines going around the face. And then from the bottom of the nose to the chin, about halfway, is where the mouth's going to be. And then we got to think about, there's going to be some subtleties. Typically the upper lip comes forward a little bit, so that line's going to come out even further forward. And then because we're at a perspective where the distal part of the face is going away, we're going to be favoring the mouth closer to that side. There's a lot of subtleties, and then the chin comes back forward again. Again, if it's a feminine character, the chin is going to recede a little bit and look smaller from this point of view. But if we're drawing dudes, which is what I know how to do better because I'm a dude, I've spent a long time drawing dudes. I see a dude in the mirror every single day, 5 times a day, depending on how narcissistic I'm feeling that day, which is generally moderately narcissistic. Hey, is that like, how long is this beard looking? I got to trim. This thing's getting long. My hair is getting long. Everyone likes looking at themselves in the mirror at least a little bit because it's fascinating. The mirror is this magical thing. It gives us a version of ourselves, but flipped and inverted. It's weird. All right, Mike's saying, fine, I'll spam. Let me how to fix my actual human face. How to fit your face is wonderful. Don't fix it at all. It's great. Leave it as is. Mike says, fire. We need a set of 3 to start selling those guys. A set of 3. Man, oh man. More puzzles maybe? I don't know. So where do we go from here? Let's finish this out a little bit. We're gonna have more upper eyelid. We're gonna see the tip of the lower eyelid that's facing back because there's a tiny plane that catches a little bit of light, but still we're gonna shadow the bottom eyelid, and there's gonna be a little bit more shadow on the area between the eyebrow and the eye. And generally, if you don't have a light source and you want to illustrate something with some shape, let's go to like 50%. We shade faces that are going down. Like if you have a very trim or gaunt character, you want to shade underneath the cheekbones and then the area underneath the lip. The upper lip's going to be a little bit shadowed. There's going to be some shadow under the nose, even though this plane is coming upwards. Let's give it some highlight. Let's go up to 90%, and we'll paint a little bit of white highlight on the planes that are facing up. So just a little bit of the upper eyelid, a little bit of the lower eyelid. There's going to be some light coming down on the cheek. This is going to be facing up. And then the area around the mouth, I would go even lighter because we don't want to draw too much attention to this area of the face. But just giving a little bit of a highlight there helps, and a little bit of highlight on top of the chin, top of the ear, and then because there's hair on top of the head, let's just darken all that in. When drawing portraits, hair is a big part of the portrait. It's a choice that the subject has made, how to have their hair. Now, where does the neck go? Where does the neck go is always a good question. Well, the anatomy, there's a hole in the back of your head that has a little S-curve where the spinal column comes from. So your thoracic cervical vertebrae, which is in your neck, has a slight S to it, and I believe it's 7, and the atlas is the vertebrae at the top, and then halfway is going to be the chin and the face, and then the neck kind of comes like halfway. If you can imagine like this, the 5-eyed sphere or 5-eyed cube continuing a line down to the neck tube, it's going to be something like that. So about halfway inside of the chin. So imagining drawing through the face here putting, if the equator of the five-eyed sphere is something like here, imagine straight down below it, we have this vertical cylinder where the neck is coming out of, where if we had a choker line on the neck, that's what this is. So we're going to draw the neck something like there. And it doesn't go too far. The length of the neck is only the equalness of the five-eyed sphere. It is the same height between the five-eyed sphere's vertical volume to the length of the neck to where it intersects with the rib cage, which is going to be something like this. You got your 7 true ribs and your 5 floaty ribs down here, and your scapula back here, and your arm over here, and yada yada yada, collarbone. We'll get into that another time. So generally, that's where that's coming from. Whoa, we're going real fast because we're just warming up because I really want to get to the other thing. If I was smart, I would have painted this orange area in another layer, but I'm not, so I'm just going to paint over it by picking the colors we have there and going over. So happy that Mr. Mike can hang out with us today. That's fun. Mr. Mike and his gaggle of gooses that are running around his house every single day. Also good, if you want to make this neck feel like it's getting further away from the viewers, we darken it down a little bit. So pick the darkest color on the face, or maybe this middle of the shadow cheek area. Knock it down a little bit darker, maybe 5% darker. And then that already tricks the eye into something being a little bit further away. Some illusionism, ladies and gentlemen. So that's drawing the head from above. If you want to add a little bit more depth to this or interest, parts of the face that are closer to the viewer, even though there's a highlight on my forehead right now off the light hitting the middle of this huge 5 head that I have coming from one of my lamps, to do a little illumination, I'm going to add a highlight along the closest edge. So we can come maybe 100% white, maybe at a 90 or 80% opacity, and just hit the closest edge towards the viewer. And then this gives us a little bit more proximal, distal-like understanding of the subject. And then counter to that, we can do maybe a little bit of very subtle darkening on the opposite side. So picking our darkest color, maybe going 30%, and then lightly maybe glazing a little bit on the far side of that, the shadow behind the nose, just to divide the close area from the far area, and suddenly we have a little bit more volume. We have a little bit more volume in our drawing. Very quick, and this is where we start with that. All right, so that feels pretty good. Drawing the rest of the figure from this area, let's do really quick, select this and do it one more drawing for drawing the entire figure from this point of view. Select this real quick. Boom. Control Shift C, new layer, V, and let's hide that. So we know we have our head. Let's shrink it down. If I wanted to do the entire figure, real quick demonstration of that. Mike says, I like that our next one as The Avenue. Just needs some better ideas still. Yeah, Puzzles, the first batch we sold almost 200, which is pretty good for just word of mouth. It is really good. I forgot about that. We did talk about doing a Hamden Avenue drawing, and I'm going to need to come down and do some research. But that's a good idea, and I'm so glad you reminded me of that. And he says, bummed, by the way, that The Avenue is such a straight line. We lose the amazing framing you had with water and hills in the first one. Maybe rip it out and send it to space. Hamden versus space monsters, Huns riding flamingos, skateboarders. That's a really cool idea, like floating. Remember Avengers 2, The Age of Ultron, when Ultron like picks up the city of Sokovia and like lifts it into space? There's all these roots and stuff. Like it'd be really funny if like all the rats were just like draining out the bottom as this bit of Hamden is being illuminated by the god power of John Waters. Is just like Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi using the Force to lift the island of Hamden up from the rest of Baltimore, and he takes it into space with him because John Waters apparently is an alien after all, and he's leaving the Earth and he's taking Hamden with him. That'd be pretty cool. I could actually see a movie deal based on that premise. I think that'd be pretty dope. We're gonna get to that next week, ladies and gentlemen. So, but right now, All right, what were some of the five-eyed cube ideas vertically? Well, we have another two stacked five-eyed spheres, five-eyed cubes for the vertical height of the rib cage. And as we go down in perspective, we want to shrink things a little bit. So the five-eyed sphere is going to get slightly smaller and slightly smaller. So the next two blocks would be the pelvis. And the pelvis generally, if it created a 4x4 box there, the pelvis is kind of in the middle of that. And at the bottom third of that box would be where your femur is. And then that femur length is going to be three more of these spheres. And I'm making them a little bit smaller as I go down each time. And then we're creating these cup shapes. So the cylindrical cup shapes for the legs. Just water, ladies and gentlemen. America. Let's keep going down. Dumping a lot of information. So generally, we're going to have this figure that is a monolithic figure going down and down and down and down. Let's shrink it a little bit more so we can fit the feet on the page. And then there's still three more smaller five-eyed cubes. And the bottom five-eyed cube is going to be where the feet are, generally. So this is how you mass out your figure from above. So the top of the arm is going to be a little bit thicker than the bottom of the arm. And the upper arm meets up with the bottom of the rib cage, and then the forearm goes from the bottom of the mid cage, which is about here, all the way down to the bottom, or the bottom of the pelvic bone of the pelvis, so right at the groin. And then the hand, the entire hand comes to about midway down the thigh, something like that. Why does the hand come down there? So you can clean yourself, you know? When you're in the shower, you can reach down easily and make sure all that dirty bits gets good scrubbing, because that's important. Got to take care of your business. Got to take care of your business. Isn't that right? Teaching kids to take care of their business. You would think it'd be harder. But I think they just automatically kind of know. For another conversation, let's keep going with this drawing the figure from the above 3/4. Why is this important to do? Because it's really good to use that for scale. Let's say you wanted to draw a map. You want to draw a map of something, and you wanted to have a building, and you wanted to show how big this building is. Well, right now that building compared to this guy isn't very big. But if you know, that's not really a building, it's more like a big cardboard box, maybe for a small mini fridge or wine fridge. But if we just copy that guy and then shrink him down, you know, suddenly this is like a hut shape or a house shape. You know, if you have a recognizable figure, and just to make it clear, let's fill it in with some color just to give it a clear silhouette. Now we have reference scale for what we're drawing next to it. Isn't Photoshop great? Having a Cintiq and some Photoshop is a wondrous thing. It's a wondrous thing when you get to draw in Photoshop. Something like that. Something like that. Always fun. I think I'm feeling like we're pretty warmed up. What do you think? What do you think? All right, let's get into what I really want to work on today. Maybe we'll revisit this kind of concept for drawing the figure from the above 3/4. It is good to darken things that are further away to enhance that sense of illusion. So just really quickly giving it some gravity by darkening the bottom parts and lightening the upper parts is a way to trigger that sense of depth. Trigger warning, we're triggering depth. Question for the audience: do you feel triggered by the rising price of GameStop stock? Discuss below. I do not. I was a little alarmed. I was a little alarmed until I understand what's going on, and it seems like it's a big meme parade. trying to fight the man with the monies. All right, something like that. Not beautiful, but it gets the point across. Well, let's send that over there. Next thing I want to do is I kind of want to combine these two ideas. We got 30 minutes until the 6 o'clock hour to brainstorm an idea that combines these two images, these two ideas. So first of all, I'm going to take this bottom image, the crab robot. Let's do Control-Shift-C, create a new document, Control-N, Enter, Control-V, and we paste that there. Let's increase the canvas size a lot. So I'm thinking the idea is we're going to have this big spaceship behind the crab robot. So let's increase the size quite a bit. Let's take the height to 12. Let's take the width out to 20 maybe. All right, that's a pretty good working canvas size for what we want to do. Let's fill the background with that same sky blue, gray, Pacific Northwest, Pacific sky color. And we're going to save this document out. It's called lobster ship. Is the name I'm thinking about this because my friend Joe requested a lobster. And then we're going to take part of this scene. I'm just going to select the airplane part. Control-Shift-C because there's many layers here, and then paste that up. Just give us a sense of composition. So I'm going to change what this ship is. I'm just going to work on the composition a little bit. We've talked about the rule of thirds in the past, where you have, if you can divide your drawing into, well, let's start with bisecting it. So somewhere along the middle. The middle point is actually pretty boring. What's better is the third lines. So if we can make lines that go across the thirds, and then let's see, something like this and like that. So the intersection of the third lines is where we're going to have our PowerPoints for a really good composition. So let's arrange our subjects to exist in these areas. And I think we could come up with a pretty compelling drawing based on that, or composition, I should say. So let's enlarge this a little bit. And let's plan out some stuff that we can do here. How's the stream looking, ladies and gentlemen? Mike says, I like the idea of people working together to topple systems of power. Not sure it's going to work out that way. Oh boy, house full of kids now going into silent mode for real this time. All right, dude. Yeah, people, it's, I was thinking like this is the 2021 version of farmers with pitchforks trying to go after the mayor's mansion in a way, but they're using cryptocurrency, or I don't know. These are gamers who found an exploit. There is an exploit in the system. There is a piece of bad code in the way the government allows trading to happen, and I think that piece of bad code that is working in a different way than expected is the short sell. I feel like that needs to become way more regulated in the future, especially limiting the amount an individual or fund can short a particular stock. So I think it drives it towards the bottom, and that's just a negative thing to do. I don't think in general we want companies to collapse on themselves. Like if companies are fraudulent or bad, in this case GameStop, I don't love GameStop. As a game developer, I feel like GameStop takes advantage of a lot of studios by reselling product and not giving money back to the developer. In general, I think digital distribution is better than general retail for art in this way. But look, movies and music have fought the same reselling market already. So what's the solution? I don't know. I mean, clearly the monetary solution to the video game industry is subscription services. Games as a service where you're paying a monthly subscription or microtransactions to feed the developers. Another conversation. So let's get back to this. Let's get back to composing stuff. What would be fun? I want this ship to feel really big, and there's two ways we can do that. We can give it the sense of atmosphere that's really in the distance. So maybe I can just bring the opacity down just a little bit, and it'll feel like it's huge. And in the background, we can physically enlarge it a lot. we have the sense of scale where we've put in a little fighter jet that gives it a sense of perspective. I like the idea that it's probably maybe that big. So let's just start painting over this scene here to see if we can bust out some interesting composition stuff. I'm just going to pick colors that already are on the scene in the world. Let's get maybe this like jagged coastline that builds up. Let's play around with some stuff. Just play. So the clouds, as they go up higher, they're probably closer to us. So actually, we would want to gray down, like gray and desaturate the clouds in the lower part, and whiten up the clouds that are up above us. I'm going to lighten that background image. That's that part. What do you want to call it? Oops, wrong layer. So I guess the point of this stream is to be talking about combining ideas that you might have, and how to go through that process of taking two things that already exist and combining them together to make something new. So another thing my friend Joe suggested is like, what if we have like an army of crab robots? So let me copy and select this guy and Control Shift C, Control V, and then like copy another one down. There's like an army. There's like a bunch of these little dudes. So let's put that there, and then let's put another one maybe over here, further in the background, and then one coming out of the water over here. And we can maybe like flip it by holding Shift like that. That's pretty cool. And we'll just erase parts of these three. Let's make the other layers a little desaturated so we can see what the original is. Actually, a better way to do this would be to make the overlaid layers just a little bit transparent. So if that's transparent, I can erase parts of this drawing that, something like that maybe. Erase this area over here. And we're just brainstorming, using these other drawings to brainstorm with. The other legs coming through. Something like that. And then we could paint over just to work up what's going on. Pretty cool. And we can also, to make this feel like it's a little further back, we can just take the transparency down just a little bit, or maybe lightly glaze over with some atmosphere. Let's go like 20% with a pressure brush, and just kind of lightly glaze with locking the transparency, so we're only working on the image that we've already drawn. Let's give it a little ghostly kind of feel. That's fun. That's pretty cool. All right. So that works. Let's merge this so we're all drawing together. Cool. Elle says, love is in the house. What's up, Elle? Josh says, listening to your stream while driving. Insightful, entertaining as always. Good friend Mans and large draw man Sir Thomas. That's right. Thank you, Josh. Glad you're tuning in while on the ride home or up to destinations where you will go. Destination unknown. All right. So we got the big spaceship. So this spaceship design is going to change. We have a request from JoJo to make a lobster mothership. So let's plan that out next. We have the rock, we got the ocean, we got the shore, sea foam, and maybe we got like a big splashy bit here. We got some stuff. I don't know. We got drawing on the wrong layer again. I'm going to try to mumble less, ladies and gentlemen, but it's really hard. I'm just this excited, and I'm unsure about what I'm going to say because this is 100% off the cuff, unscripted for your entertainment and enjoyment. Just don't have a lot of confidence in what I'm going to say. One of the most annoying things when I listen to interviews and live television is the any kind of speech problems. Just give up on what you're going to say and let someone else talk. But I don't have someone else to talk right now, so I got to come up with random things to talk about. All right, we're going to go to new layer, and so the same perspective, I want to create a giant flying lobster. So new layer, let's conceive this out. First of all, what's nice about this other ship I designed, it's already got the ridges, kind of like a lobster tail. So let's create a generic box that encompasses the massing of this spaceship. Now the closer part of that rectangle is going to be a little bit bigger than the rear part of that rectangle. The mass of a lobster is generally a narrow, kind of pointy face. So now I'm going to put the torso of a lobster in this rectangular prism. We have a shell, and then there's a tail that's rounded on the top and flat on the bottom. And then there's the tail part that comes out the back. And it's got a middle flap and then like two side flaps, right? Something like that. And then the shell arcs over. And we need this to have some perspective to it. So the front end of this lobster shape is going to be a little bit larger than the back end. This kind of feels like a knife, which I like. Like without the claws, it's got this knife-like shape with a handle, a pommel, and a blade. And then there's the eyeball sticking up here somewhere. There's a couple of antennae that come forward, which are pretty cool. And then we have the limbs. And I might need to reference my lobster anatomy for this, but I know there's going to be some arms coming out. And the close arm's going to be, let's clean this up a little bit. The closer arm's going to be bigger than the distal arm. Proximal and distal, great terms, right? So there's going to be foreshortening on the front arm, and I really want the silhouette to make sense here. These are going to be kind of like wings, like claw wings. And now I'm getting off the side of my drawing, so I might need to shrink this back down. So we have one wing there, we have arm, and then giant claw shape out there, right? Something like that. Giant flying lobster. What would Jordan Peterson say? The lobster. All right, let's shrink it down just a little bit. We're going to move it, shrink it. Who out there likes lobster? Do you like lobster? I mean, it's usually pretty expensive. Like, you get the lobster roll, and it's like $35 for a hot dog size bit of meat. All right, and then the close claw is going to be even bigger. And then we got some legs. And I believe the legs come off the body. So we got, what, 6 legs? And there's the tail. And I'm imagining like all these crab robots are like descending from like the tail of the lobster. Like they're coming out of some kind of landing, like there's some kind of landing bay. And maybe they got parachutes. That'd be cool. Right? Is that fun? Okay, so let's create a little background paint over to separate the old ship from the new ship. Pick some of the background cloud color. Just do a separate layer, a little paint over there. And we can see our lobster ship flying. Okay, we got a lobster in the sky, and we're going to robotify this lobster up. What do you guys think? What do we think? Got 15 minutes to start working this out. So I want to get some shadow color. The underside is going to be not only darker red, but I mean the red is also the cooked lobster. Do I want it to have it like a blue lobster? Not really sure. I got to think about this a little bit. But we're gonna go like a blue-green, sea green for most of the bottom side of this lobster shape. And then we have to spaceshipify this thing. Yeah, I like the idea of maybe like a blue underside and a red top side, kind of like a split camouflage airplane. It's gonna be fun. So because we're mostly seeing the bottom of this lobster, the majority of it's going to be a dark color, and then just the sliver of the top side is going to be this lit. It's going to be lit. It's lit shape. Lit color. I'm kind of thinking that these legs are going to be some kind of like lifting engines, like rocket engines. Get some sci-fi like thruster business. And if you had time on your own, you could definitely look up your anatomically correct lobster. But for the sake of this drawing, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to go off the top of my head. What does it feel like? There's a cool crab robot in that Ghost in the Shell movie. I just thought that was pretty cool. Crab tank thing. It's pretty cool. The problem with crab tanks in real life is as things get bigger and bigger, they get really, really heavy. And that's a lot of moving parts. To make a walking tank, it's better just to have like a system of treads that can kind of move up and down and adjust. That. Christina's making dirty jokes. Kind of looks like an eggplant with claws, that's for sure. Christina says, much better with shading. Mike says, how do I erase that image you just put in my brain? And she apologized. And then Mike saying, sorry, it's not going to stop the nightmares. Ah, come on. You can't have good dreams every night. Christina, I can make a flying eggplant drawing for you if you'd like. But that'll be another stream. That'll be another event. So this is probably going to be for Eric, because Eric actually he liked this crab monster idea a lot. But we'll see. We'll see. Eric's a good dude. So I'm thinking like a tri-engine rear thing. And then there's the paratroop crab drop. It'd be really funny if the United States just wanted to like troll North Korea and just built these giant flying crab fortresses. What are you gonna do now? Right, so this is pretty sharp right now. We got to make it feel a little bit more distant. So I'm going to take some atmosphere and create a new layer, pick the background atmosphere color, get a nice soft, foggy kind of brush, and just lightly like glaze in the background color just a little bit. Thinking about the distant shapes as getting a little bit more atmosphere than the close shapes. Just give it a little bit of internal depth, if you will. Eggplant with claws, says Christina. Happy you're joining me. This is fun. Got a nice little crowd tonight. Thanks for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's do the classic thing where Tom flips the canvas and see how's it work. Flip horizontal. All right. What do we got going on here? Now I'm noticing that we need something in the upper right, and the bottom left is carrying a lot more weight than the other side. Let me finish out. Let's just finish the composition here. Got some rocks. We generally have the crabs that are walking in the background. That's cool. Crab army. I'm gonna work a tree up here. There's some kind of tree shape on the. It's kind of cool when like there's like a little bit of foreground action that so like the lobster is definitely in the background by putting some more tree shapes. That could be kind of cool. Where's our light's coming from the left? Do we want the left or the right? Kind of want the light coming from the other side. Kind of want the light coming from over there. Oops, I want to do that. What happens if the light, let's get a little highlight coming from the left side of the screen. So we're just going to repaint over the clouds just a little bit. And then also the crabby guys. Let's do a little bit more shadow. I'm going to take a blue, take a sky blue, turn it to multiply, go to 30%, and then paint over just a little bit of shadow. Oh, because it's, you know what? Because it's a different layer, I have to change something here. I have to go to a new layer, make the layer a multiply, and then I can paint the shadow. That's what I wanted. That's what we wanted. So we're going to hit a little bit of darker shadow on everything just to ground the crab army into the scene. A higher contrast for the close guy. Still mostly in the brainstorming part of this, and then we can increase the highlights by using another layer, which will be screen mode, and picking out a warm sunshine color, like a yellow or an orange, and then just coming over the top there. So suddenly we have some sunlight. Who doesn't love a little sunlight in their life? Not all the time. You can't be in sun all the time, you go crazy. But it's nice to be in the sun for a bit. The sun's going to be over in this area behind the tree, maybe. Something like that. And then I need to shade the sky a little bit too. I'm going to go with the purple, desaturated middle purple, and just a little soft round brush action. Just shade a little bit of these clouds on the opposite side away from the sun, just to give us a little bit of contrast up in the sky. We're going to need something up over this right side of the screen. I don't know what that is yet. What do you think? What does the crowd think? What's Peanut Gallery think? Elle's sending me images. Mike says, I, for one, welcome our new crustacean overlords. Now, I can't load that image for some reason. It's not coming through. Let me try something else. Try open up another Facebook window, and then have anyone else noticed that in Facebook you can't just easily drag and drop pictures into chat anymore? Every time I try it in the last month, it breaks Messenger. And I don't know. Oh, I can't get that image, but thank you though. I don't know, man. Got some likes for the video. Ryan Griffin likes the video. Thanks, dude. Thanks a bunch. And thanks for everybody who liked the landscape painting. That was fun. Groovy. Let's keep going. I want something up here in the right. Now, could just do some clouds. So I'm doing this on a new layer. I don't quite like it. What if we had that airplane? Something, just making some shapes. I don't even know what. Be a little. Oh, maybe there's like another lobster ship re-entering from atmosphere. Like there's a re-entry kind of. Might be cool. Coming in at a different angle. Yeah, that's kind of neat. So that's going to be really high up there. So a lot of blue in between. And is it going to be like a fiery? Is it like a fiery re-entry? High energy, ladies and gentlemen. A game that had the kind of crab robot spaceship was Mass Effect. If anyone played that one. The crustacean is the noblest of creature that can survive the perils of space. One of the most horrific things I've ever seen is you watch that show Deadliest Catch, and they pick up all these Alaskan king crabs and they throw them under in the hold of the ship, and the guy goes into the hold to like to check on the health of the crabs, and there's just a bazillion of these crabs inside of a boat. That's horrifying. Horrifying. Like a fate worse than death would be to be dropped into the belly of a ship that's full of Dungeness crabs or Alaskan king. Much respect anybody who works on one of those boats. If anyone's seen The Mandalorian, season 2, episode 2, with all the space snow spiders. So how do we make something ship-like or robotic-like? Well, you got to sharpen. Organic objects have a lot of curves in them. In the simplest way to have robots depicted is you start to sharpen up some of these edges. So I'm kind of liking where this is going. This drawing is totally insane, and that's the way Mike Legrand likes it. So we're going to keep going in that direction. Maybe there is like a pattern. Maybe by showing the background is like there's maybe re-entry mode, and then there's flying. Maybe there's flying mode after that. Maybe re-entry mode is a little bit more aerodynamic. And the flying mode's got a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more open kind of claw situation. So let's sharpen everything up. Adjusting the silhouette. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun out there. Hope you had a good Thor's Day. What are you doing Friday? What you got going on? What you doing fun with your weekend? I, for one, have just about no plans. Might have a bonfire with some people outside social distancing on Sunday. That would make me really happy. I love bonfires. Even as cold as it is, you just put more fuel on that fire. And thankfully, wood is available in central Pennsylvania. You got wood or eggplant. Get you some wood. Got my buddy Josh an axe. Maybe we'll chop some wood on Sunday. Chopping wood. Just really sharpen out this shape here. The great concept artist Feng Zhu, who did a lot of work on the Star Wars series, particularly the prequels and the post-sequel things. I don't know what you want to call them. He highly recommends for inspiration a movie called, or a TV series, The Deep Blue Sea or something. Like, look, if you want to look at inspiration for aliens, underwater documentaries are just fantastic. All those crazy shrimps. What if I kind of robot legged out? Yeah, this is what I want. And if Elon Musk is watching, call me up, dude. Let's work on a crab ship. Crab ship 1. I think we can link up some Raptor 9 engines on these octopeds. I know you can figure it out. You got some engineers that can figure this business out. Who remembers Half-Life 2? You had the Combine drop ship was a crabby looking guy. Crabby looking guy carrying a dumpster full of Combine troopers. You want to make it look sci-fi, you gotta have like some vents, gotta have some tubes, gotta have some like mechanical looking bits. Panel lines, segmentation. It's gonna be a drop area, maybe right before the tail is going to be some kind of internal lit drop bay, maybe. I'm having some doors and windows always makes it look pretty realistic for scale. You could have numbers. Like, I love those huge numbers you see on the side of aircraft carriers. And suddenly that makes it feel very official. I'm having fun here, ladies and gentlemen. Just thought to let you know this is great. Thanks again, Joe, for the idea today, and Eric for back in time, and everyone else just for being here, being an audience. It's important to be an audience for your friends. Makes them feel good. Let me know if you're here. If you're lurking in the background and I haven't said hi to you yet, feel free to say hi. Let me know you're around, because I can't tell who's actually watching right now. So one of the things I'm doing to roboticize this is try to imagine where the edges are. So I've masked out the, what do you want to call it, the silhouette I like, and now I'm defining the shape inside of that silhouette. And then adding anything repeating. Repetition indicates design, decision, that kind of stuff. So let's have some repeating inorganic shapes. That could be some kind of sci-fi engine system. We're gonna go a little bit lighter, a little bit more transparent to show the thrust coming out of these things. This thrust is cool. Yeah, I'm feeling this, man. This is feeling pretty cool. It's feeling pretty cool to me right now. And one of the great things, you can use the screen mode to like hit this thing and make it brighter and brighter and brighter. Look how cool that is, man. That just like works. It's something that L told me about using the screen brush or screen mode. Got a lot of energy coming out of these vents now. 4 million pounds of thrust. Back to normal. Be some giant wheel shape here for the claw. That makes sense, right? The aircraft carriers have all these little like docking ports and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe you have like missile bays up top, like a nuclear submarine. Kind of feels a bit like the Avengers, the Shield helicarrier a little bit, right? Or Metal Gear Ray, the big submarine from Metal Gear 4. I forget what it's called. Outer Haven. Love the Metal Gear series. They're super weird, but I like that they exist. I haven't played through anyone completely because they're just so darn long and weird and hard, but I like watching the movies. After someone else has played through it, they upload all the cutscenes, and that's fine. That's fine by me. I mean, I was just, man, Metal Gear for PS4, was it Metal Gear 5? Just so technically impressive. Like, Kojima really knows his stuff when it comes to how private militaries work. Like, there's actually a lot, I think he did a lot of research. There's definite silliness, like the giant walking robots is silly and fun and just fantasy, like kaiju versus mecha robot type stuff. But the nature of information warfare and new weapons technology development, prototype, battlefield testing, I think that a lot of that type stuff is rooted in reality. I heard a beep for a message, but I don't see it. Mark Shahan liked the video. Thanks, Mark. Hope you're doing well, bud. I heard a beep, but don't see a message. Super weird. Oh, because it's in Messenger. And Facebook is being a punk, so I'm going to check my phone. Joe's sending me messages. Thanks, Joe. What if this is like a shape that kind of comes down like that? I don't know. This is accident, but I'm trying it out. It's kind of fun. So there's like a stronger support structure. You could paint, get a little bit of yellow. Maybe it's like a bumper. Yeah, Mass Effect had those super creepy, like robot, ancient crab, giant hand crab thing that floats through the universe, looking like this, looking like somewhere between an octopus, squid, crab, lobster monster. I did not like them at all. They were scary. Send all the nukes at those things, all of them. All right. So the foreground arm has to be bigger than the background arm. So we're going to narrow that down. Paint over that area there. And the arm comes forward. This part comes forward. Pretty cool. This whole distal arm is going to be a little bit more light color, just lower contrast to blend in with the background. So we're going to use these washed out colors on this side just to separate. I feel like it'd be fun to have a little anchor, right? That's like a happy accident shape right there. I don't know what it is, but I like it. So let's just draw some shapes and little spacey bits. Thinking about the Sulaco from the movie Aliens, how it just had a bunch of tendons and antennas and cannons and interesting stuff. Very obvious cockpit bridge shape here. Some roll bars, maybe. Big nod to the helicarrier from Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What do you guys think? What you think? What you think, dogs? Friends? Relations? Let's zoom out. Let's take a quick look. How are we doing? All right, this is feeling pretty good. It's starting to feel pretty cool. Getting some details in here. I think the arm, the distal arm, is looking still a little too big. I probably need to shrink it down. So let's just take it down just a little bit by painting around it. Yeah, something like that. It feels a little bit better. So just giving it a little bit more perspective. Darken that cloud shape just a little so it makes the arm pop. What do we think? Let's do another cloud back here. Like this big cloud kind of ends there. Another one over here. I don't know. I gotta think about this. This re-entry lobster is gonna be messing with me because I don't really know how to illustrate something that big coming through the atmosphere. I haven't seen something re-enter in a long time. Heyo. Something like that. I think that'll work. All right, what else we need to hit? Let's get a little bit of the foreground with the trees. Let's get some cracks. Maybe get some little bit like waterfall type things coming down. I'm having fun. Hope this comes out. This is gonna be pretty cool. Typically, I like to do the introduction of the idea on this drawing show, and then I spend probably 3 to 5 hours rendering it up and then reposting it online later. 6:14. Let's do another 15 minutes and then get some dinner. think I'm gonna make a salad for myself tonight. Be healthy. I got some turkey and provolone. We're gonna cut that up, make a little julienne kind of style salad thing with some Italian dressing. Got some carrots, got some tomatoes. And then probably feast on granola bars later. My camera's looking super yellow. Super yellow. Let's see if I can change that. Yeah, it's not letting me set it right now. All right, there we go. Tom looks less jaundiced now. All right, what do we think? Probably time to flip it back, huh? All right. So one problem we got going on is the right side is super heavy. There's a lot of weight going on the right, and the left is nowhere near that. So we're gonna build up some rocks and some heaviness to frame this image. So we'll come over with like maybe some kind of tree. Yeah, that'd be cool. Just like a trees kind of coming out. One of these coastal piney evergreen type trees. Just frame in the right side, left side, whatever side this is. Whatever side it wants to identify as today. Politically, I'm non-binary. Neither left nor right. Don't cancel me. I'm just trying to be funny. Don't cancel me, bro. This little island back here is actually kind of conflicting with the silhouette of the robot, so I'm kind of tempted to paint over that island. As cool as that island was back there. Might be more interesting just to have a big old rock. Maybe a rock with a little hole in it. It's kind of cool. You got anchors away stuck in my head because we got some naval activity happening on the crabs are on the march. Isn't like caissons something to do with like landing? Like, and the caissons keep rolling along into, isn't that the army song? And the caissons were something for like making bridges out of. I'm trying to remember. Who knows what a caisson is? And not like the Vietnam battle site caisson. I'm talking like caisson, like C-A-I-S-O-N. Whoever's got Wikipedia close, hook a brother up. Tell me what's what. It's so cool in the Pacific Northwest. These little islands that have just like rocky, tall, bouldery looking things with just like a couple evergreens on top. Just so cool. Feels like those Japanese mini trees. What are they called? Not origami. What are the mini trees called? Mike says silhouette of a real crab celebrating in the foreground. All right. Yay. The cavalry has arrived. Actually, aren't they blue before they get cooked? Same thing. I had a horseshoe crab here. It's a little bit messy. Let's redraw that. This dude's a little goofy. Let's get rid of the dude. Don't need a dude there. Redraw this engine also. Changing some of the drawing just to make the silhouette pop a little bit more. Bonsai, thanks, Mike. Bonsai trees. I was struggling there. Gave up. Bonsai. So this little island being right in the middle of the scene is actually a bit distracting because we rescaled what's going on here. So I don't want to knock it out completely, but I don't want to make it as prominent. Let's try painting over. It'd be interesting if the crabs, this like crab over here was actually climbing up a little bit. So maybe I would, let's just paint over him just a little bit, and he's like marching up this cliff. Might be fun. Yeah, that feels good. The good thing is that once you've established your colors, you can make these changes pretty quickly. You just sample a color you already have, and then you can just draw your thingamabob, and it already seems to fit into the scene, right? Yeah, that's fun. Crabby dude. Awesome. Kind of feels more prawn, right? More prawn, less lobster. Might need to bulk up these grips just a little bit. Make them just a little bit bigger. Make it a little bit redder. This is so ludicrous. This is absolutely ludicrous. Need the other eyeball here too, don't we? We save this. Always make sure to save, ladies and gentlemen. Back to normal mode. What's going on the antenna, you ask? I don't know. The reentry is what turns them red, says Mike. That's brilliant. And the redder they are, the more reentries that lobster has made. It's a sign of veterancy to be redder. Dude, I like how you think, my man. Let's get some like battle damage. Like there's some scarring because of reentry. Right? That's what's up. Seeing a fight or two. We got some particles in our thrust. Because this got some kind of fusion. You know, this is fusion power thrust. So it's got some water. It's got some helium-3 coming out. Some H2O. It's part of the process. Silhouette is the key here. Okay, I'm running out of fuel and I'm getting hungry. All this seafood, and I'm on that seafood diet, man. Seafood, I eat it. Ha ha, that's an old joke, Tom. I know. Can I drop a dad joke even though I'm not a dad? I assume that lobsters have like a male and a female, but I don't know what determines it. Like, so would it be the mothership, or like, don't lobster dads care for the little ones, or don't they? I have no idea how this species works, so I'm just gonna shut up. But I want to make a joke about like mothership isn't the right term because insects don't really mother their young. So what would you call it? I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere that I'm whiffing on. Gotta paint over the old signature because that's old and not valid anymore. I think that's pretty cool. Those Pacific Northwest trees end up having some kind of direction to them. If the wind's always coming in from the sea, they like the trees grow in this like wavy pattern that grows away from the sea. It's pretty cool. When you if you receive 45-degree, 45-mile-per-hour winds every single day, you'd grow a little weird too. And that gives it a little bit of character. Get some reference and remember what those trees actually look like to give it a little bit of silhouette, give it the right feel. Something like that. All right, ladies and gents, 6:29 in the PM, trying the late edition of the Tomcast. Actually, it's not the late. I could do a much later edition for you night owls out there. But this was super fun today. Thank you for the inspiration from my friends Joe and Eric and Elle, who gave me some incentive to warm up and do something fun here. I think we're having a good time. landing ship crowbot army. Like, I can't talk. Mike says brood something. Brood, like Brood War from StarCraft. Christina says, I assume the antenna are Sputnik-style whip antennae. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. That sounds good. The whip. Yeah, I gotta thin those out just a little bit. Thank you for the reminder. Oh, something we did forget is running lights. That's usually a good way to signify that something's like huge. Is running lights. We could do a little Chris Foss striping too. Chris Foss is a concept artist who is big on like checkering and like striping stuff. Yeah, good, interesting stuff. Oh man, we'll just work out some more details. I'll probably listen to some podcasts and work on this a little bit more after I eat some din din. Something else kind of cool. I was looking at some research on the Saturn V rocket, and because it ran so dirty, so fuel rich, it actually had like a pretty dark flame for the first like few meters of that thrust cone. It was like there's a heavy fuel rich outer cone that is what kept the engine cone cool. So it was like this dark flame on the outsides. That was pretty neat. Maybe I'll just incorporate that just a little bit to make it a little bit more obvious where the thrust is. Just taking a riff off of the Saturn V main engines, the F1 engines there. Maybe just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more direction, a little bit more obvious thrust. And then that's always fun. Makes it a little bit more easy to see. Even if it's not realistic, we can still see it. There probably would be like cones of smoke and stuff too. If you wanted to really go nuts and get realistic, there'd probably be like all kinds of down cloud thrust stuff. But I'm not going to get into it because I think it's going to obscure the beautiful background. Something like that. And I'll probably rearrange these like crab drop guys because they look like they're getting incinerated by the engines over here. So I'll repaint those. Because they certainly wouldn't deploy their parachutes under live thrust, right? Man, this podcast is just full of innuendos. Talking about thrust, talking about re-entry. Christina's talking about eggplants. Sea creatures. All right, enough of that before I get in trouble. Thanks so much for hanging out. This was fun. I'm going to keep working on this probably tonight and into tomorrow. Hope you all have a great Thursday night and listen to some good music. Chill out. Have yourself a good dinner. And I'll see you guys next time. Next time on the Tomcast. Take care.